Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our latest episode of our podcast, the Chemical Digital Playbook. I'm Florian Brunet. I'm the director of digital at DKSH Performance Material, and today I'm extremely happy to host that episode together with Yahya Syed. Yahya is the co-founder of CEO of Potion AI, which is a Silicon Valley-based startup which is revolutionizing the way personal care ingredients and products are developed by using AI technology. So today it's going to be about AI, it's going to be about transformation, but also we will talk a lot, I'm sure, about deformulation. And we get to hear a bit more about this topic. We will see also how Potion AI is aiming to reshape the industry, also assisting product developers, R&D people. And yes, we're going to have so many other topics in question. But thank you so much, Yaya. Welcome on board. Welcome on the podcast. How are you?
Good, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, Florian. I'm really excited for our discussion today.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. I've been talking to you for a couple of months already. I think we know each other from before the podcast. I've been very curious about Potion AI actually. I saw you in online. I saw you on LinkedIn. I also saw you in some magazine, and I really like the way you're tackling the digital transformation through AI in the cosmetic industry. But yeah, before we jump into the different question, yeah, can you tell us a bit more about Potion AI? What is your company? How the idea came to you? Let us know more.
Yeah, so Potion is basically, you can think of it as a platform that helps R&D teams accelerate the time it takes to bring products to market. And we're really focused on applying technology generally and artificial intelligence specifically in a variety of ways to basically augment the efforts of R&D professionals and folks in regulatory and compliance and procurement. Um, we got our start in a rather unique way. My team and I actually tried to start a skincare brand of our own. And I
Okay.
actually flew to Korea, spent some time looking at some of the products there. They're very innovative and kind of at the cutting edge of innovation, generally speaking. And one of my co-founders, Alex, he has a PhD in applied math, and his research focus was in deep learning, basically. So when you think of AI, that's kind of
Wow.
what's going on behind the scenes. And the two of us and our other co-founder, Ajab, basically became obsessed with this idea of how can you apply artificial intelligence in the physical realm to, for example, launch better products faster, cheaper, because we all
Mm.
know, how difficult it can be to bring a product to market and how many stakeholders are involved, et cetera. So, ironically, this was well before, Chat GPT kind of took over the zeitgeist. This was in like 2019. And so, what started as our own brand, we went through the product development process, went through the pain of sourcing ingredients, working with a contract manufacturer, et cetera, turned into, essentially what is now Potion today. And yeah, happy to get into more, but that's basically the origin story.
That's amazing. So it means that you have a much longer story that's what people might think when they hear about Potion or Potion AI, right? So it means that you start before the Gen AI revolution.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we used our own proprietary models to actually formulate a facial moisturizer for ourselves.
Wow.
And it was in that process of, we basically took a starting formula, we gave it to a cosmetic chemist and asked him to basically take it to the finish line. And he was really impressed by the amount of upfront work that we were able to
Wow.
automate for him. And it was kind of in that moment that we realized, oh, maybe it'd be interesting to share this with, more folks who know what they're doing, frankly,
Correct.
and can benefit. So yeah, we've been on this journey for a while, and it comes from a very kind of organic place, so to speak.
And I think that's a challenge that most of the company are facing, the topic of research and development and that notion of speed. I mean, at DKSH as a distributor, we see that the timeline of the project used to take such a big amount of time for the reason of testing ingredients, testing different combinations, right? Before you can find the right thing for your project. So I assume that AI does not just automate formulation, it might be also enhancing the precision, the efficiency. How do you see the impact of algorithm in research and development team in industries, like in the personal care industry?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think there won't be any piece of, product development broadly, let's call it, that won't be touched.
Yeah.
So whether it's determining which product you should be making in the first place, whether it's determining which claims you should be looking to make, figuring out which ingredients are best used or could best be used to address those trends, the formula, that in which you can put them together, navigating the process of managing regulatory and compliance. Each of these pieces can essentially, be an entire effort in and of themselves. And so, I think people, when they think of AI, they think of generative AI and they think of
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm going to type something into a prompt and I'll get a response. But you can also use AI to, simulate lab experiments or, basically query the right information and present it to yourself, for example, in a regulatory and compliance context. So I think there's a lot of different ways in which AI can be applied. And the way we like to think about it is like, we focus on the problem and then you can figure
Yeah,
out what the right solution is,
correct.
to basically streamline.
That's great. You know what we're doing, driving our transformation towards, and you said it, right? You've been talking about documentation, you've been talking about regulatory. I think that when you are aiming to do cosmetic ingredients and moisturizing creams or whatsoever, you have a big wall that you have to face is the one of regulatory, right? And I mean, on our side, we see it, right? We have such a topic of the managing the master data, managing the ingredients, making sure that such an ingredient, depending on the country where it has been done, where you can sell it, depending on which type of dosage and so on. This is the journey of the Master Data Foundation takes a lot of work. And we see that in our industry more than any other industry, right?
Yeah.
Companies are building their own product information management tool. They have to deal with documentation managing system, also dealing with the right ERP or other type of ingredient. I mean, at DKSH, our big challenge is to connect the different systems so we can deliver powerful experience to our suppliers, but also to our customers. Right? How would you say that at Potion AI you're tackling this topic of documentation, regulatory, and so on? I think it's the core of your business, right?
Yeah, it's a huge component because to your point, if you can't sell a product where you would like to sell it, then,
Hmm.
that's a huge problem. And so regulatory is a very complex because to your point, you have regional and country level restrictions,
Yeah.
you have retailer level restrictions, you have brand level restrictions, and then you have, restrictions at the specific product level. And there's almost like two sides to this equation. There are the rules themselves, right, which are obviously very comprehensive,
Yeah.
constantly changing, and can have massive impacts on the entire, formulation portfolio. And then to your point, there's all the information related to the ingredients or raw materials themselves. And so we're really focused on basically marrying those two things together.
Hmm.
I think, frankly, if any company is looking to accelerate their AI journey, or frankly
Yeah.
just ready themselves to take best advantage of all the technologies that are being released today, is to do exactly what you said, which is how do I get my data in a space or in a place where I can actually take advantage of it and leverage it,
Hmm.
because there's so much value in just presenting to, for example, a
Yeah.
regulatory professional or an R&D professional the right information at the right time, and that is
Yes.
this huge, huge undertaking. To your point, that it seems like you guys are obviously kind of doing a lot with, and we want to help in a bunch of different ways
Hmm.
to the extent that we can as well. And so, yeah, that is a critical area of importance, both in regulatory and compliance, and then just broadly speaking, when you think of
Data
product
management,
development at
right?
large. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no, that's fantastic. And also, I mean, based on what you say now, we have one side we have the data, the other side we have the regulatory, and then we have our labs. We have our digital team working on defining the journey and finding out, as you say now, what are the pain points in every step of that journey. And you know what? Most of the time, and at DKSH, we've been working on that. We've been developing a digital lab, and it was saying, okay, you just select the different ingredients from the customer portal on DKSH Discover, and based on that selection, the portal will make you a proposal of which type of ingredients, which type of formulation you can find out, right? Mixing out the ingredients. But we start from the ingredients and then we go to the formulation. And I think from what I see and from what I saw around, most of the companies are working that way. You start from the ingredients and then you find out what's the formulation you can offer. And this is where you come to your main asset. I mean, what I see as the main asset now, you have this type of a deformulation, this type of a reverse engineering, right? That is becoming increasingly important. And in the end, it makes sense. We always think as an R&D people, as a lab people, so we start from very complex ingredients, but in the end, when we think about an application, when we think about an ingredient, it has to start simple, right? We take that ingredient, okay, we take that cream, we take that thing, what is inside? So this, where did it came from, actually, this topic of deformulation? How did you develop this? What do you think? What are the type of output and application you can get out of this AI for deformulation in the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the way the tool came about is very organically. We basically just spent time interviewing hundreds of cosmetic chemists and asked them to describe their workflow and what they spend time doing. And what we learned is, product development is extremely iterative in nature. And so when you receive a new product development brief, you obviously have the description of the product, right? So I want to make a rich, thick cream. You have the target price, you have all the regulatory considerations we were just discussing, so on and so forth. And there's always a product benchmark that's provided. And that benchmark is basically supposed to establish a tangible set of standards around product performance, efficacy, texture, so that when you say, I want a rich, thick cream, and I hear that, you and I are talking about the same thing. And so when you think of the formulation journey, the first step is basically decoding that benchmark product. You basically take the ingredient list, of that benchmark, and you try to determine, okay, which specific ingredients are inside, what role is each of those ingredients playing, and what is the concentration of that ingredient in this formula. And so Potion is really if you think of our deformulation tool, it essentially automates that process. It takes what takes several hours, in the status quo, and it turns it into, something that happens in a matter of seconds. And the purpose is to just take the ingredient list and turn it into a starting formula from which you can iterate. So our purpose is not necessarily to help someone reverse engineer a product as much as it is, how do we take what is like the first step of this very long and complex formulation journey and just accelerate it. But that's how it came about. That's what the tool does. I think to your point, people find it to be extremely valuable because, again, anytime they're starting a new project, there's a new benchmark that they have to evaluate.
Correct.
And Potion's a great place to just very quickly automate something that they're already doing today currently.
So is this from your perspective? Do you think that they are? I mean, we go from a deformulation to then there's a big data management and data processing out of Potion. Is there any way to get some kind of like data-driven prediction? Meaning that, we see that most of people in the cosmetic industry, they're chasing the trends, right? And there are platforms that are giving insight about the trend. That's the trend of the year and so on. Do you think you already have enough data, or maybe you plan yourself to have enough data in the nearby future to being able to drive kind of predictions out of the cosmetic industry, or potentially some trends in terms of alternative? We talk a lot about natural alternative to this or to that. Most of the companies, they try to change their logistic channel distribution to get through something more sustainable. Is there some way for you to make this type of prediction moving forward in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, and it's something we're very interested in, with the thought being like, if you think of the deformulator where you're putting in an ingredient list and you're receiving a starting formula, there's a lot of variables that we can optimize for. So let's say if you want to replace an ingredient with a more sustainable alternative, that's something that we believe we can help with and would very much like to help folks to do. If you want to optimize for product cost, you can do that. It all, again, comes back to the previous point we were discussing, which is the data available? Can you take advantage of it? Because again, a lot of the name of the game is, can you present the right piece of information to the
Yeah.
chemist at the right time. So, we're working on that right now. I think you will
Hmm.
see the capabilities and the functionality of the deformulation tool continue
Okay.
to expand, where it won't just be, okay, I want to just turn this ingredient list into a starting formula. It's, I want to turn this into a starting formula, but I want to make these changes, right? So I want
Hmm.
either I want the viscosity to be higher, or, I want to, like I want a sustainable form of palm oil,
Hmm.
or, I want the carbon footprint of the product to be reduced. A lot of this comes from training models, but then also to your point about master data management, indexing information,
Correct.
connecting that information, and then presenting it to the user. So I think there's a lot to do there. I also think, to your point about trends broadly, I mean, one thing that's interesting about Potion is, people are working on active projects on Potion today.
Yeah.
And so we have very good insight on, basically what is the market working on at this moment,
Correct.
set to launch in the next, call it 12 to 24 months. So I think that is, something that is very interesting. And, one question we get a lot is, will this just make it so that everyone will be making the same product, right? Like, what does it do to innovation broadly? And
Hmm.
I think our perspective on this, for what it's worth, is, we are just making it. If we believe, actually, if you democratize access to formulation,
Yeah.
the bar of innovation will actually raise, right? So what you will need
Correct.
to bring out into the market to basically differentiate yourself and succeed and win, will need to be an even better product, than, like, where you won't be able to just reverse engineer or dupe a product on the market and succeed. So I think that's another piece, that we're thinking about a lot, where it's like, how can we push innovation forward? How can we reduce the time it takes to bring a product to market? Bring better products to market, and
And
so on and so
help
forth.
also, correct, and also helping to get more creativity in the end, right? Because if you have more power in terms of generating input, generating output from the data, you can get more creative, no? And in the end, yeah, you have the trend, but you can go much beyond the trend, right? Not only responding to the market, but letting also companies getting into new type of innovations in terms of applications and so on. That's unlimited, right?
Completely agree. It's so interesting you say that, because, formulators are this really interesting group of people where they're obviously scientists and they're very deeply
Yeah,
steeped in, like, chemistry, but they're also artists, and I think, to your
correct.
point about, being creative. And one thing we think about Potion is, how do we remove the administrative work, and,
Hmm.
perhaps even some of the scientific work, so you can just focus on making, the most innovative product, or most creative product that you possibly can.
Correct. No, no, that's very that's fantastic. I'm thinking about people in the labs at DKSH, and I really feel that what you're saying can resonate a lot with them, right? On
Yeah.
getting this to really helping them to go to the next step, to the next mile in terms of formulating. Just in the topics of the trends, since we've been talking about the trends and creating demand through innovation, do you think that AI can help creates demand or generating new type of demand? How do you think that? How do we actually generate excitement and curiosity in the market? I mean, when you see Potion AI, do you think it helps brand to stay ahead of the curve and driving customer toward new interest? Most of the time, the demand comes from the customer. Is there any way to generate the new demand from tomorrow?
Yeah, so I think a few thoughts when it comes to demand. One is, there is, we believe that the growth of the market is actually limited by brands' ability to launch
Hmm.
products into the market. And so what I mean by that is, it takes anywhere from 1 to 3 years to bring a product to market, and the average
Yeah,
commercial lifespan is only 3 years. And I think that's because trends are constantly evolving, trends are constantly changing. Consumers want to try the next best thing, and it's very hard to kind of nail that. There's this
yeah,
concept called the Jevons paradox, and the basic idea is that if you can reduce the cost, quote unquote, of supplying something,
yeah.
that demand, in fact, actually increases. And so, like, a good
Correct.
example of this is, if you think of, like, the hospitality industry, you know, when
Yeah,
Airbnb came into existence, it's not like the hotel companies all of a sudden, totally, like, stopped selling, renting
correct.
out rooms. Instead, what happened is, a whole new group of people started basically staying at each other's
Getting back
homes
to
and
the hotels. Hmm.
yeah, exactly. So I think one thing is like we believe that just if you can just put more shots on goal,
Hmm.
naturally you will be able to innovation for the industry will overall increase because you have more
Yeah.
attempts or chances to basically bring about what is might be considered an interesting product by the market. And we also think there's a lot of appetite in the market to try new things, especially again, as we were just discussing, beauty is such a, it's not just a, it's not like pharma, right? Where it's like, I have
Right.
this like particular, concern and I need a cure, right?
Hmm.
It's like, hey, I'm trying to express myself in some way, right? Or I'm trying to like indulge in self-care. And so
Yeah.
I think there's a huge opportunity to basically just like launch a tremendous more amount of products from brands. And on the AI side, maybe this isn't something we help with today, just in terms of identifying what trends could be. I think being able
Hmm.
to like extract signal from a tremendous
Yeah.
amount of data, right? In terms of what are consumers doing on social media, what are they buying today, et cetera. Like when you think of just trend prediction broadly,
Hmm.
the tools that we have available to us just let you do a lot more with the data that we have.
That's really interesting what you just said, right? And this is also really something that resonates a lot on the side of the distribution, right? When we see some type of cosmetics so far, they're completely closed to a certain part of the audience, and working on reducing the cost of developing thanks to the technology will also open many doors, right? Moving
Yeah.
forward. That's great. I think that's we've been talking about how AI is helping an entire industry, right, to work as an ecosystem from the technology standpoint, from the supply and standpoint, so the labs, the formulators, and so on. But something that comes to my mind, I mean, we work on that digital transformation journey in the chemical industry for many years, and this is something that I always ask to myself: why is there so few amounts of startups in that industry, right? That's crazy how that vertical of chemicals. I mean, you're in Silicon Valley, right? So you see a lot of VCs
Yeah.
around you. You go to them, you tell them, okay, chemical industry. This is not the type of vertical where you see so much companies around, investment, and so on. And in the same time, it's a huge industry in terms of
Yeah.
capital valuation and capacity of investment, right? You're there
Yeah.
for a couple of years now. You're living in the Silicon Valley. You're surrounded by this. What is your perception out of this? What's your explanation for that?
I think one is founders like easy problems to tackle or what they
Yeah.
perceive to be easy problems. So I think when you think of chemicals, there's a lot of, I mean, we kind of fell into this, but like I don't think
Yeah.
anyone wakes up in the morning and thinks, oh, let me
Yeah.
let me try to conquer the chemicals industry today. So I think there's some of it's just a lack of familiarity.
Okay.
And the fact that you do need some sort of like industry expertise, let's call it, or
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
context of like, what's going on in the space so that you can,
Connection. Hmm.
yeah, exactly. Just so you can even figure out like what are the problems that you can solve, right? Like I don't think people realize, frankly, and maybe this is another reason why, just how much of the problem in chemicals, or not problem, but the opportunities in chemicals lie in
Hmm.
applying technology into the space and how, the same way, like for a lot of other companies that are serviced by technology companies, managing of data and using that data to like augment and
Yeah.
automate workflows is critically important. The same thing exists in chemicals. Like perhaps people just think of chemicals companies as just giant factories, right,
Correct.
that are just pushing chemicals out.
Icon, right?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that's some of it. And then I also think there is a strong maybe resistance to change, or maybe that's not the right way of putting it, but like the industry has been, you know, for as much as we're discussing all these opportunities for growth and
Mm.
change, the industry has broadly speaking been working, quote unquote,
Yeah.
for the last several
Yeah.
decades. And so I
It
think,
works.
yeah, and so I think
That's
it's
good.
one of those
Fair
things.
point.
Yeah, so I think when, if you think of some of, the leadership at some of these
Mhm.
companies, like I think there's probably like perspective of like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So sort of thing. So, I do think with everything that's happening in the zeitgeist broadly, right? And as people are seeing just like the massive transformative effect of technologies like AI, we are starting to see that everyone across the value chain, so whether it's chemicals companies or
Yeah.
contract manufacturers or brands, everyone is realizing that there's a lot of opportunity that can be, extracted. So we obviously love the space and love that we're working in it, and quite frankly, hope that no one else comes.
We will see. We will see. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, I was reading the other day that was a study made by McKinsey saying that 92% of the companies worldwide are expecting to increase their investment in AI over the next 6 months. That's
Mm,
huge. I mean, huge
that's
in terms of
huge.
room for possibilities. We see the cost of technology is getting lowered, but there is maybe much more
Yeah,
entrance people that can come and play a role on that game. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, we've been talking a bit about sustainability and how we can help with your solution and potentially in the future find out some alternative. I mean, we're seeing on our side an increasing demand of customer asking for sustainable ingredients. I don't tell you how many cases we have customers like companies coming to us telling them, okay, we need to change the paint, the coating, we need to change this ingredient, this and that.
Yeah.
Can you help me finding out the solution? That's a big trend. We see that. How on your side, how do you see that trend? Is it something in terms of research when you make your data analytics from Potion? Is it one of the biggest trend you see?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the queries that go into our ingredient search engine are centered around, basically finding sustainable alternatives and replacements for existing ingredients. So, basically like silicone alternatives
Yeah.
or ingredients with like, low D4, D5, D6 values, et
Hmm.
cetera. So I think it's very much front and center. And I think to your point, it's driven all by the end consumer, right? Who is
Yeah.
demanding more sustainable alternatives, which, introducing a new
Regulation.
challenge. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And regulation. And that introduces
Mhm.
a new challenge for the industry because now all of a sudden the uh universe of ingredients with which you can work is smaller and it's different, and the way you put these products together is also different, right? So you can't just swap an ingredient one
Yeah.
for one, right, and expect to achieve the same result. So I think this is a very interesting kind of challenge for us all to navigate together, and we're excited to play a small role and hopefully accelerating that
Great.
change.
That's great. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Yeah, we are getting close to the end of this episode. I think we've been talking about plenty of topics regarding your company, regarding the ecosystem we are playing in, the two of us. Also regarding AI and its different applications in the cosmetic industry. But now, if we take a look at the future, I mean, you remember November 2022, ChatGPT is released. I don't know you, but for me, it feels like it was 10 years ago, right? I mean, the first
Yeah.
model of ChatGPT, there's that's, I mean, I feel that so many things happen in the same time, in the meantime, with so many different applications for our industries that, I mean, really gives the feeling that we're just at the beginning of something that is much bigger than us, right? This year, we talk a lot about agents. I think many of people listening to that episode now sounds this word familiar right now. It's the agents everywhere, even the big corporations,
Yeah.
they talk about agents, right? Copilot there, now it's agents. On your side and with your eyes of an expert, what are the exciting, let's say, development that we should look out for the next few months? Maybe few years, I
Yeah.
will even say few months.
No, totally. I mean, I think definitely it seems like agents are all the rage, right? I think the idea is you now have, intelligence, quote unquote, in
Yeah.
the form of these models. And the question is can you allow them to reason, right? Think, and can you allow them to remember?
Mhm.
And if you have the combination of those three things, what you're left with is the ability to take one of these things and essentially send them off to do a task, right?
Yeah.
And you can almost think of it as like a little assistant of yours. And if you think of the amount of work any individual person can do, it
Yeah.
now increases significantly. And you
Correct.
imagine that the cost to run these agents will be very low, right? So what people seem to be saying is that everyone will have agents everywhere, even if it's just on your phone, right? Like an
Right.
agent for you personally to just organize your life or like book your next trip, etc. So I think we're in a very exciting period. And it seems like that is kind of focus of a lot of
Mhm.
these foundational model companies, these AI companies, and quite frankly, I think there's a lot of application of this sort of thing,
Yeah.
this framework in our space. You can imagine, for example, if you're a formulator, can you just send your agent to
Yes.
request, documentation from a supplier or coordinate, with a supplier on XYZ thing and so
The
on and so forth.
details really.
Yeah, exactly. Because today, for example, like chemists spend like 4 to 5 hours a week, we've heard, just interfacing with suppliers on like very, very basic administrative
Yeah.
tasks. So like, can I receive this documentation? Can I get the updated version of this documentation, et cetera? And so, there's really
True.
no value on either side, right? Of you engaging that. Like ideally, if you're having a conversation with that formulator as a supplier, you're talking about, okay, what are the problems of yours that I can help you with? Right? What are you working on? Right? What sustainable solutions are you looking for, et cetera? And you can leave, some of the more mundane tasks, let's call it, to these agents. So I think it will really improve, frankly, the quality of life,
Yeah.
both in our personal lives and in the professional realm as well. And it should again just like let people focus on the more creative aspects of the job. Like one of the things they say here in Silicon Valley is like the things that'll matter more than anything else in the future are
Human relationship, right?
yeah, relationships, and then you're an agency yourself. So it's like, do you, what,
Right.
like, can you think of what the thing to do is, right? And then and decide that you're going to do it. Like those are the two things. It's like human connection, and then your ability to like want to do things are
Right.
kind of what really matter.
That's very insightful. That's very, very interesting as a perception. I think it's a much more positive perception of what we can read, hear, see most of the time. And you're right in the end, right? When machines talk together, it gives more time to spend to what really matters in the end. That's make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, we totally agree.
Yeah. What can we wish you for the future weeks, month, and okay, what can we wish to Potion?
Honestly, not much. I mean, we're just gonna keep doing what we've been doing. Hopefully, the new tools that we're working on today and we'll be launching soon will just further help brands and contract manufacturers and chemical distributors and manufacturers. And yeah, I think the best you can do is, check out our website. Just www.potion.ai. A lot of our platform is absolutely free to use. And would love for you to give it a look.
Amazing. Thank you very much, yeah, for your time today. That was a fantastic discussion. I really look forward to hear the comments we will receive out of this episode. Thank you for joining us. Thank you everybody for listening this podcast. I think it's a wrap. We've been talking about a lot of AI related topics in the industry, in the cosmetic industry. As Yahya, you just said, you can find Potion AI just typing it. Whether you type it in ChatGPT or in Google, you will definitively find it. Do not forget to subscribe to the Digital Chemical Playbook. Stay tuned for more insights and on the future of digital innovation in the chemical industry. We'll catch you next time. Thank you very much for listening and see you soon. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.